Warning: the Duracell Cup Series data file you have attempted to access is out of date. Uploading current file now.
It's a brand new car from stem to stern, and it's never been raced at these speeds.
The next gen car is opportunity.
Everything is different with the exception of like the seat, the steering wheel, and your helmet.
Unknown creates excitement.
Good afternoon, race fans, and welcome here as the playoffs have begun in Season 6 of the NNSCRA Duracell Cup Series, and we kick things off at a track making its debut on the Duracell Cup Series schedule. This is the Gateway Motorsports Park, more commonly known as Worldwide Technology Raceway, but I like Gateway better, so that's what we're calling it here this evening as the drivers prepare for 80 laps at today's venue. Now, obviously, there's different drivers with different agendas here today. Most of the field, they're just going to be trying to end out the season with as many checkered flags as they possibly can. But for 16 drivers, their journey begins now as they prepare for 3 races to try and advance their way into the final 12, another 3 races to move into the Elite 8, and then 3 more races to determine the final 4 that will battle it out for the championship this season at Michigan International Speedway. Who's moving on? Who's going home? If you win tonight, if you're a playoff driver, you're advancing into that round of 12 regardless of what happens in the next 2 weeks. So you got to think that is on the top of every single one of those drivers' agendas. But if you take a look at our playoffs coming into this season, so many different storylines. Of course, at the forefront has to be Nick Gunther, this project car at a Fortnite Squad Racing, Mazda making its debut into the Duracell Cup Series, and at the end of 26 races, 4 trips to victory lane, 2 road courses, 1.5 mile, 1 2-mile speedway, takes the number 1 seed. Also ended up last week at Auto Club taking the regular season championship, so there's 15 bonus points for that. Add on the 20 bonus points that Gunther got with 5 points per win. He has 2,035 points, 20 points over the next driver, which is Dustin Bolin, who had a great rookie regular season, 3 trips to victory lane for him. But he's 20 points back in the number 2 seed. You've got Keith Batson, Mitchell Collins, obviously there, multi-time winners in 3rd and 4th, and everybody else that made it into the playoffs had 1 win apiece. How about the rookies this year? We haven't talked that much in the last couple of weeks about the emphasis of this being the first year of the next-gen car, but I said this back at Daytona. If there was ever a season that you wanted to break into the Duracell Cup Series as a rookie, it was this season here, because everybody, whether you were a rookie or a grizzled veteran, that has been here since the very first green flag back in Season 1 at Daytona, you were going to have to relearn everything you knew getting used to this next-gen car. 7 of our 16 competitors here in the playoffs are all rookie drivers. Dustin Bolin, Will Hoer, Zachary Fitzwater, Jack Dunnard, Rick Johnson, Quentin Moore, and Laura Chung, all donning the rookie stripes. We have never yet in the history of the Duracell Cup Series had a rookie win the championship, if you don't want to count Caleb Fogler and Stephen Paul with the 3rd last season. But last season was an anomaly with us having 3 drivers per team, so I'm not really putting that one out there. If we're talking about just single driver, single car, we've never had a rookie end up winning the championship. This could be the first season that takes place, but you look at some of the other names that have made it into this playoffs as well. Charles Sanford, been on a tremendous role as of late. Michael Norman was the overall points leader for a time. Mitchell Collins, 2-time winner. He's been in the playoffs a couple of times. So has Keith Batson. You've got Ali Liera making the playoffs for the first time since Season 2. Ryan Butcher, He was the regular season champ last year, makes it in this year. And then I think you got to also look at Kyle Matthews, right? The defending champion of the series. He, along with Fogler and Stephen Paul III last season, in a conglomerate effort, winning the Season 5 championship. Kyle Matthews is the only former champion of Duracell Cup Series that is in the playoffs here this season. So, will he be able to be the first repeat champion in the history of this illustrious series? We'll have to wait and see. But mention the fact that, those 16 drivers that you just saw, they're looking to advance into the next round of the playoffs. They're looking to be in the hunt for the championship. But there's another 26 drivers in the field. They're just out there trying to finish out the year with victories for many of them, looking for their first victory of the season. And look no further than our top 3 starters here today. Carson Gum, former champion, starting on that pole position. It's his second pole on the year, but he is mired down 38th in points, still looking for that first checkered flag of Season 6. And alongside of him, Dylan Young, who was very much in the conversation last week at Auto Club of maybe being able to get that last-minute win to advance into the playoffs. Came up just short. He right now is 20th in overall point standings. Granted, a number of drivers leapfrogged him because of being in the playoffs, but Dylan Young, he's still looking for his first win on the season. And then Cole Deaver. Deaver in that 0-8 going to be lining up in the 3rd position, 33rd in overall points. He's only got 1 top 5 this season, and he'd love to be able to get a second one, but more importantly, he'd also like to get himself a trip to victory lane, first of the season for him. Highest starting playoff driver is going to be Keith Batson. He'll be rolling off the grid from the 4th position. And then Matt Haas. Tough break for Matt Haas. Had such a consistent year. He was up there leading the point standings for, well, I would say pretty much the entirety of the second half of the regular season. Outside of that 1 week he lost it to Michael Norman. And then he almost was at the top of the point standings after Auto Club, but Nick Gunther got him by a couple of points. So Matt Haas, very consistent year. He's still looking for that first victory. Former Daytona 500 winner. We'll see if maybe he can get it done here today at Gateway. But it's time to go down trackside and get those most famous words in motorsports as we get ready to go racing at the Gateway Motorsports Park. Let's go get that command.
Drivers, start your engines.
Going to be 80 laps of racing here today. You're going to see on the right side of your screen the 42 car starting lineup. Keep an eye out for where the playoff contenders are going to be rolling off the grid. One thing you will not see are the defending winners of this race because we've never had a race here at Gateway in previous seasons. It's making its very first debut race here in Season 6. So, an opportunity for a driver to make history here tonight. First driver to take a Duracell Cup Series checkered flag at this track. 80 laps of racing here today. This racetrack is very well known for tire wear as long runs go on. You're going to want to preserve those good years. It's going to be a lot of fun to see how this track comes into play in terms of who may be in a good spot heading into next week as far as the playoffs are concerned, and who may find themselves a little bit behind the 8-ball. Last thing you want to do is go into the first elimination race in a must-win situation. But this track was very good when we had preseason Thunder testing, and expecting that it's going to equally be good here today. Chevrolet on the front row with Ford, Carson Gum, and Dylan Young. Waiting for that pace car to make the left-hand turn onto pit road and get ready to go racing in the first playoff race of Season 6 of the Duracell Cup Series. Here they come, the flagman's ready, green flag in his hand, and it is now in the air. Let's go playoff racing! Early advantage, Carson Gum to the lead. Cole Deaver going to look for second place on Dylan Young. Had to lift there coming off of the corner. Early evening conditions, so the track might be a little cool, might be a little slick on that inside line. As more rubber gets laid down, the tire heat starts to pick up. A little bit more grip might be available on that inside line as we'll keep following this battle for second place. Keith Batson's moved into 4th. Austin LaPlante hounding him for that spot in 5th. Matt Haas in 6th. Look at LaPlante right up on that left rear quarter panel of Keith Batson and had to back off of him on corner exit. That opened the door. Big run there for Matt Haas to take a look to the inside for that 5th position. Rookie Reese Banks right behind him in the Domino's Pizza Ford. Matt Haas trying to get back to the throttle there through the center of 1 and 2. Looks like he will. Can he clear LaPlante down the back straightaway? Not quite. LaPlante's going to battle back on that top side. Let's see what happens over here in 3 and 4. Which line prevails? Inside line, outside line? Even through the entrance. Inside line gets the advantage through the center, and then outside line comes charging right back off of exit. Just going to start stacking them up here as we've got a battle for the lead. Dylan Young taking a peek on Carson Gum, and he's going to make that pass very easily through 1 and 2. So Dylan Young going to take the lead for the first time here tonight. Carson Gum leading the first 2 laps. And now Dylan Young out in that clean air. Dylan Young has 4 top 5s, 7 top 10s on the season. With the reformatted points after the playoff drivers all ended up getting put up in their respective 1 through 16 seeds, Dylan Young is now the 4th highest running driver in the standings that is not a playoff contender. He did not have a very good 1 and 2 there. Carson Gum was able to reel him back in. Top 4 have broken away. Battle still on for 5th. Matt Haas and Austin LaPlante still side by side. Nick Gunther, points leader, just ran his fastest lap. 9th place right now is where he scored. Then a couple more playoff drivers back here. The 2 entries out of Auto Junction Racing. Laura Chung in the 77 and her team owner Ryan Butcher in the 78. They were 11th and 12th last time by. Number of drivers that you would have seen on your starting lineup did not get the benefit of good track position. Jack Dunnard, Will Hoer, and Zachary Fitzwater, rookies all, started 39th through 41st. So we'll keep an eye on them, see if they start making their way up towards the front, whether it be just through the raw speed of their race cars or if they're going to have to rely maybe on pit strategy to come into play, maybe a long-run tire conservation. As this battle for 5th will not go away, and as they're side by side, they're allowing that top 4 to continue to open up the gap. LaPlante and Haas, neither one willing to give an inch. LaPlante might have gotten it there. Nope, here comes Haas driving it right back on the inside line. Nose to tail, Chevrolets for 2nd. Deaver tried to outbrake Carson Gum there. Carson might have checked him up just a tad, because look how Keith Batson was able to close in on both of them through 3 and 4. I think Deaver might have a slightly faster car than Carson. Just not able to make a move as of yet. Thought he might show the nose down there into turn 1, and now Carson Gum, who backed up turn 1 there, got a nice roll through the center and a nice exit off of 2. Now he pulls away from Deaver and starts to close back up on Dylan Young for the race lead. We can hear that off the throttle time there. As a matter of fact, let's get a good listen to it. Let's go on board with the Mountain Dew Baja Blast Chevrolet of Carson Gum. Big run there through 1 and 2 for Carson. Pulled right up to the back bumper of Dylan Young. Does he show the nose here into 3? It doesn't look like it. Looks like Dylan Young's a little bit better in 3 and 4. Carson Gumm's better in 1 and 2. So Carson rolled the center of 3 and 4. Oh, man, he got to the bumper and he had to check up. It's going to lose him some momentum there. Well, folks, with it being the playoffs in preparation for next season, we are trying out some new stuff. So we are going to now show you the debut of the side scoring pylon. We'll be using this during the remainder of the 6th season of the Duracell Cup Series, as well as the upcoming 7th season. Trying out some new stuff, seeing if it works, and tonight's the test run for the side pylon, so hope you guys like it. Top 4 have gotten themselves all nose to tail now. And the one guy that we have to keep our focus on would be that 39 of Keith Batson. Batson trying to win his way into the next round of the playoffs. Next week is another debuting track, I believe. I'll have to double check, but I believe we're going to Chatham next week. Road course. Kind of a short road course, but it's a fun road course. I mean, if I'm going to be perfectly honest, it's one of my favorite road courses to run on. That and Lime Rock, but Chatham is so much fun. How about this battle for second? Cole Deaver takes a look to the inside of Carson Gumm. Not able to make the move here out of turn 2. It looks like these guys have gotten themselves somewhat organized out back here in terms of who's going to run where. LaPlante is now in 5th. Matt Haas in 6th. Reese Banks in 7th. 8th place Ryan Brommer, and then here's a battle potentially for the second highest playoff driver, Nick Gunther, and just back behind him is the 77 of Laura Chung. We saw Ryan Butcher was up here not too long ago. What has happened to the 78? There he is. He's now back to the 14th position, and I think he just lost that spot to Ali Liera, so now it's a battle for 15th between himself and Jesse Turner. So we talked about that if we go into long runs, it's going to come down to tire conservation. 78 may have used up a bunch of his grip in the early going and is now starting to free fall as a penalty. Some more playoff drivers back here. Rick Johnson in the 93 making a move around Michael Norman. I believe that was for the 20th position. Norman back to 21st. Destin Bolin is right now, I believe, in 23rd. Just behind James Qualls, just ahead of Noah Hendrickson. There's Kyle Matthews on the highest side of Benjamin Snyder. Matthews, last time by, was scored in 27th place. Two-time winner Mitchell Collins, side by side with fellow Mustang Levi McIntyre. This would be for, I believe, 31st. Well, he was battling for 30th. He just dropped back to 31st. RJ Bishop, long ways back here for the 98 car, just ahead of Anthony McCrory. He's 33rd. Jack Dunnard, who had that great run last week at Auto Club to move back into the top 30 in points and clinch himself a playoff position. He's back here along with another fellow playoff driver, Quentin Moore. They were 36th and 37th last time by. Charles Sanford way back here. A couple of the S3 Motorsport cars way back here along with Jessica Shelton. Sanford right now is scored in 39th. Zachary Fitzwater, the, well, second best I should say of the rookie class during the regular season. I believe he was highest in points though of the rookie drivers. Destin Bolin had the 3 wins. Fitzwater is right now being scored in 40th, I believe. And then Will Hoer right now is dead last. Playoff contender, our winner back at Las Vegas. And he is right now in some pretty deep trouble. Hoer started this race from the 40th position, so obviously this is a place, as we've seen, not a whole lot of passing. This is definitely a place where track position is king. Cole Deaver was able to make the pass around Carson Gumm when we were going through the field looking at our playoff contenders, so move him up now to the second spot, and he'll look to reel in Dylan Young, who's led the last 14 laps. Carson Gum is the only other driver that's been out in front. He completed 3 circuits as the race leader, and it leaves us with the question of when do these drivers have to come to pit lane? If you can make a fuel run on tires, I would think you probably would want to stretch it that far, but at the same time, I mean, these drivers, I'm certain at this point in time, they're already screaming for fresh rubber. As a matter of fact, looking at lap times right now, Dylan Young is running a full 1.5 seconds slower than his fastest lap. His fastest lap was almost a 36 flat. That last time by, he ran a 37.7. That is 1.7 seconds slower than what he ran just 20 laps ago. So definitely this is a track that wears out those tires, backs down the pace. And unless we end up getting a caution flag, I mean, you know, depending on the execution of getting onto pit road as Carson Gum moves Cole Deaver up the racetrack to get second place back, but may come down between these 4. Got a ways back before you get to Matt Haas and Ryan Brommer, a couple of Camrys. The gap right now between 4th place and 5th place is 4.5 seconds. So yeah, they need a caution to come out here to be able to catch back up as we're a quarter of the way through this race. If Dylan Young, Carson Gum, Cole Deaver, if any of them go to victory lane, then that means that comes down to points. Who's above that 12th in the standings cut line of the playoff drivers. But if Keith Batson or any of the playoff drivers end up winning, then that puts the cut line down a bit, because they would be locked in regardless of what happens. And we've had scenarios where a driver has won to advance into the playoffs, but they don't finish up above the cut line, so the cut line actually moves up 1 spot further to, well, in this case, in this round, it would move up to 11th rather than 12th. Basically with the fact that, you know, if a driver ends up winning early on in the round, they know they're locked into the next round. They don't really have to worry. They can be aggressive and maybe wreck trying in the next 2 races of that round. I want to see about the lap time there of Matt Haas, as he's gotten himself finally cleared away. He ran a 37.869. Keith Batson, last car in this pack, ran a 38.0. So there is about 0.2 difference between the last car of the pack of 4 and the 8 car. Maybe with clean racetrack and nobody to have to adhere to their braking zone, Matt Haas, maybe even Ryan Brommer, could reel in this top 4. We'll keep an eye on the lap times here and see if they're going to be able to catch. Yeah, all these drivers right here in this pack are running in the 38s, 38.2s right now. 38.0 and a 38.1 for Haas and Brommer. So they're about a 1/10 to 2/10 quicker. But again, though, too, they've got almost 5 seconds between themselves and that top 4. Playoff drivers side by side. This is for 9th place. Nick Gunther, Laura Chung. Gunther, of course, the number 1 seed. Laura Chung, the number 16 seed. Gunther, with those 35 bonus points, gives him a nice little cushion back to the 12th position in points. Doesn't mean that he's safe, though. You can have a 35-point advantage over a cut line and lose that in 1 race if you DNF. And right now, we've got all 42 of our drivers, all 42 of our starters still running and still at this point in time on the lead lap. Ali Liera right now up inside of the top 15. Good run for her. Not faring as well as her teammate Zachary Fitzwater back in 41st, but 2 entries out of Evans Gardner Motorsports here in the playoffs. Liera was the number 9 seed coming into the playoffs and going to cross in front of Nathan Orman's nose and dive to the inside there of Nick Gunther, looking for 11th after Gunther lost a couple of spots to Laura Chung and Cody Lamas. Chung moving up to 9th and Cody moving up to 10th. Looks like Matt Haas might be losing touch. Some of the drivers here ran 38.6s. That's what Matt Haas ran, but Cole Deaver and Keith Batson actually ran 38.3s. Albeit they might have gotten some help of some draft there, and Carson Gum gonna go to the inside for the race lead. First challenge in a while Dylan Young has had. Boy, Carson's just so good through 1 and 2, especially through the center. Rolls the center really nice. Not gonna be able to get there this time though. So we're going to keep an eye on when these drivers do eventually elect to come to pit road, because that's going to indicate whether these drivers are going to be able to one-stop this race or not. If they can make it to lap 40 or anyways past that, then they can make it the rest of the way on what they've got in the tank. But if they pit prior to lap 40, that says to me that they're probably going to have to pit another time before the conclusion of this race. See if Carson rolls the center again here. Yep, gets right back to the throttle there through the center of the corner alongside of Dylan Young, but not going to be able to clear, and now they're stacked up double wide. Carson lost some ground. I think Cole Deaver might swing around the outside and take second place back from the 19. Carson's not going away quietly. Deaver was going to go for the lead, and Carson drove it in deep into 3. Oh man, Deaver wants to try to get to the inside, but Carson's there. That was a nice turn 4 there for Carson Gum. And Deaver had to back out of it. Carson fighting hard on those old tires. Matt Haas, I believe, is slowly reeling in that top 4. Ryan Brommer, Reese Banks, good run there for the rookie. I believe Reese is the highest running rookie on the racetrack right now. Laura Chung in 9th, second highest. And then Samuel Ryder just took to the 14th place away from Jose Mills, so 3 rookies inside of the top 15 as Carson's on pit road. So here we go. Carson Gum on pit lane, giving up what was then second place. He's the only one on pit road here. Look at the nice way that these pit boxes are numbered. Makes it easy if you don't know what your pit box looks like. Just remember what number pit stall you're in. A couple more on pit road here. Ali Lier, another playoff driver. James Qualls. And now Cole Deaver and Keith Batson are coming in this lap. Got to use that access road going into turn 3. All depends on how aggressive you want to be. Coming up here to the commitment line, which is right there. That's where that cone is. Ryan Brommer, Reese Banks, Cody Lamas are in. You're going to see with the scoring pile on, a lot of different names change, moving up, moving down in the running order here. As Dylan Young looks like he wants to stay out as long as possible, and you notice that we are just now entering into the completion of lap 30. So, the question that I was asking of was it going to be a 1-stop or a 2-stop? Obviously, it's going to be a 2-stop. Now, I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see, but I just saw Dylan Young when he hit pit road. There is an orange box at the entrance of that access road. I don't know if you need to be on the left side of that or not. I would feel that's like a commitment cone. And Dylan Young was on the right side of it, so I don't know if that would end up incurring a penalty or not. We'll update on this. We'll see if anybody ends up coming to pit lane having to serve any pass-throughs. I believe with Dylan Young pitting, that turns the race lead over to the 8 of Matt Haas. And is he going to come to pit road this time? If he is, he's got no avenue to get down there. Keith Batson is to his inside. And Haas is going to get down there, but you see, again, he missed that orange box as well. I don't know if that's just an indicator there to show where the access road begins, or if you actually do have to be on the left side of that. Let's try and find the 19 of Carson Gum, because I think with him coming to pit road as soon as he did, I think he's going to leapfrog Dylan Young, Cole Deaver, and Keith Batson. Yeah, there's Deaver. There's Dylan Young just now coming out. He'll be behind the 08 and the 39. I believe Carson Gum is going to go back to the point. Led the first 3 laps and then lost the lead to Dylan Young. battled a couple of times to get it back, but unsuccessful, and we're waiting for scoring to tell us if indeed Carson Gum is the new race leader. Looks like Matt Haas. Oh, nope, Matt's still being scored the leader. Did he? Yeah, he pit, so we're just waiting for scoring to update itself here. As should this time by have Carson Gum scored in the race lead, and it does. So Carson Gum to the point. Cole Deaver will be second. Third for Keith Batson. Fourth place, Dylan Young. Ryan Brommer is now up to fifth place. Here's sixth place battle, Cody Lamas and Ali Liera. Eighth place looks like would be Reese Banks. Ninth, James Qualls, and Nick Gunther would complete the top 10. Matt Haas, with pitting as late as he did, is going to drop all the way back to the 13th spot behind Mills and LaPlante in 11th and 12th. Nathan Orman's going to be 14th, and Laura Chung right now in the 15th position. So we know there's at least one more round of green flag pit stop still to come. We've run the first 35 laps of this race under green flag conditions. Pole sitter Carson Gum out in front. We're going to step aside for a quick commercial break, then we'll be back here to our first playoff race of Season 6 of the NNSCRA Duracell Cup Series from Gateway. Welcome back here to the Gateway Motorsports Park, home to the first playoff race of the season here for the Duracell Cup Series Season 6. Carson Gum started on the pole. He's back out in front after a cycle of green flag pit stops, and we're now going to run you down through your order of where your playoff drivers are as we near the halfway point. Right now, Keith Batson, he was the highest starting playoff driver. He is still the highest running playoff driver in third place. Ali Liera just lost a couple of spots. She's dropped back to 9th. Nick Gunther right now in 10th. Laura Chung is scored in 15th. Rick Johnson's worked his way to 19th. Mitchell Collins in 21st. Michael Norman is 22nd. 25th is where we find RJ Bishop. Jack Dunnard is in 27th. Quentin Moore 28th. Kyle Matthews all the way back in 32nd place. Destin Bolin in 35th. Charles Sanford 36th. 37th, Zachary Fitzwater. Will Horace back in 40th. And Ryan Butcher is way back now in the 41st position. Not certain what happened to driver 78, but he is right now next to last car running. As Batson picked up a spot there on Dylan Young, moved him up to second, and Ryan Butcher started pretty well in this race in 12th. But he is the furthest running playoff driver in the field right now. Talking about Ryan Butcher. Carson Gum trying to pull away from this pack of 3. little bit of help with Batson, Dylan Young, Cole Deaver all racing side by side for position, but Batson up to the top. And I think that based off of what Carson Gum did, I think the answer is clear. On this final pit stop, you're going to want to be one of the first ones on pit road. Take advantage of those fresh tires and those lap times. Dylan Young, by virtue of being out in front for 27 laps, he's got the fastest lap of the day. 36.002. Even right now, he's running almost a full second slower than that in the wake of Keith Batson and trying to hold off the advance of Cole Deaver, who had a very nice center there through 3 and 4. Can he get alongside of Dylan Young here out of the final corner? Nope, not quite. Dylan Young going to battle back on that top side. Ali Liera just lost a couple more spots in the 16. Since we last checked, she had lost a spot to Cody Lamas, lost one to Reese Banks, and lost one to James Qualls. Now Nick Gunther and Jose Mills have passed her, and she's outside of the top 10 now in the 11th spot. Gunther has moved up to 9th, following behind the 70 of James Qualls. Good run tonight for Cody Lamas. Had a decent run last week at Auto Club, moved up a spot in the standings to 40th in points. Mentioned the fact that different drivers have different agendas here this season, and while obviously a number of drivers down in the cellar of the point standings, they want to win, obviously, but they just want to have consistent runs to end out the year in what's been dismal first 26 races for them. I'm looking at drivers like Carson Gum, Reese Banks, Cody Lamas, Daniel Boyles, Benjamin Miles, Samuel Ryder, Anthony McCurry, Joshua Osborne. Of course, this was the first year that our Daytona 500 winner or Daytona 500 winning team did not advance into the playoffs with Chris Dollerton. Even last year, Matt Haas, Pierce Crone, and Dave Campos, with Matt Haas winning the 500 for the 8 car, that team advanced into the playoffs. So the streak continued to 5 seasons. It's been broken here in season 6 as Dylan Young. Is he clear off the turn number 2? Nope, not quite. Might be able to clear Keith Batson down here into 3. He's got one of the stronger cars, does Dylan Young. Was the only driver to get around Carson Gum for the race lead in the early going. But right now, they're about 4 seconds behind Carson Gum's 19. Carson is about to start encountering traffic, though, I just noticed. That, I believe, is Brian Butcher's 78, just up ahead, who is now in dead last. He just, a couple of laps ago, lost 41st to Benjamin Snyder. So something untoward's going on with that Toyota Camry. Not sure what it is. I don't know if he got in the wall and he's dealing with some type of aerodynamic damage. Something might have happened on pit lane. Pit road's a very congested place. One of those pit roads that has the pit wall separating the front straightaway from pit lane area. And you can just see the speed difference right there. Yeah, so there's something going on with that Gatorade Toyota Camry. He's about to go a lap down, so tough start to the playoffs for Ryan Butcher. He'll be looking to bounce back in the next 2 weeks. Maybe try and win next week to counter the poor performance here tonight. And Carson's going to have some lap traffic now between himself and second place, which is still under contest. Keith Batson and Dylan Young still duking it out for the second spot. Cole Deaver looking on. Carson Gum trying to get the bonus point for most laps led. He's got another 11 circuits to be able to do so. Well, yeah, 11 circuits. Yep, that'd be correct, because 27 laps led by Dylan Young. Carson Gum just led his 17th. The only other driver that's led a lap here tonight, 2 laps, was Matt Haas, and that was because he was the driver who stayed out the longest during the first round of green flag pit stops. So these drivers came to pit road around lap 33 to lap 35, which means we're still quite a ways out from when they're going to have to make that final pit stop. About lap 65 to 70 is the window when they're going to have to make that final stop. So, you know, somewhere in the realm of 10 to 15 to go. next car that Carson Gum would encounter, should he encounter, would be Benjamin Snyder, who is just now making his way out of turn number 2. Carson just entered into turn number 1. Dylan Young might be getting a toe off the 78 of Ryan Butcher because he just ran a 37.2 as opposed to the 37.6s to 37.8s that most of the other drivers are running. And he's going to now make his way around Ryan Butcher. He's been able to finally gap himself from Keith Batson, who's now under fire from Cole Deaver for 3rd place. Dylan Young not going to be able to make as easily a pass as I thought around Ryan Butcher. And look at this, all of a sudden, got some new players up inside of the potential top 5. Ryan Brommer has reeled in Batson and Deaver. He's brought Cody Lamas along with him. James Qualls has entered into the conversation. So we got about 4, maybe 5 drivers to battle it out for 3rd place. Batson and Deaver made quick work of Ryan Butcher. Dylan Young, as we saw, did not, so they may catch Dylan Young again. We'll see if Dylan can get back into his rhythm, but Carson Gum, he's home free right now. Over 5 seconds back to Dylan Young. And if he can get up there to the 74 of Benjamin Snyder, we might see that draft come into play in his lap times like we saw just moments ago with Dylan Young when he was in the wake of Ryan Butcher. But there's still about almost a full straightaway right now before Carson would end up catching him. But we only had 4 multi-time winners on the season. The other 12 playoff contenders all had 1 win, so they were all tied with 2,005 points apiece. And as I look right now at our running order, there's a lot of drivers all clumped together down in the, 31st to 42nd slot. Things are going to be very congested around that cut line, I do believe, heading into next week. Jack Dunnard, Kyle Matthews, Zachary Fitzwater, Destin Bolin, Charles Sanford, Will Hoer, and Ryan Butcher, all outside of the top 30 right now. And just above the top 30, you've got Rick Johnson, Mitchell Collins, and Quentin Moore. So things are going to be very congested heading into next week's race. That is for sure. A couple of drivers that are going to, if they can hold on to what they got, be very pleased with the efforts here tonight in preparation for the next 2 races. Keith Batson, obviously, Nick Gunther, and I think you could also throw Laura Chung and Ali Liera into that mix. They are all right now running inside of the top 15. There's Chung back there in the 77, and there's Liera in the 16 car. Brommer and Lamas. That's for 5th. Got a battle for 3rd. Just up ahead of them there, Deaver showed the nose on Keith Batson. Nothing doing. All right, let's compare some lap times here. Dylan Young to race leader Carson Gum. Last time by, Dylan Young, 38.336. Carson Gum just a tick slower at a 3.73. So lap times are very similar between those two. Really, I think it's going to come down to this final pit stop. Carson Gum showed the advantage of coming to pit lane and getting those tires as early as possible in preparation for the outlap. Now, Dylan Young, being as far back as he is, he's got the option to maybe come to pit road a lap sooner than Carson Gum's planning and see if he can leapfrog him. 4.5 seconds seems like a lot, but on fresh tires, I think you can make it up. Especially if you come to pit road by yourself and you have a nice clean pit road. Carson is in. This is a little sooner than I was expecting. Though I think the fuel window would be open to make it the rest of the way, so Carson Gum's throwing down the gauntlet, and Dylan Young's not going to bite. Dylan's going to stay out. Yeah, they went 33 to 35 laps on a tank of fuel, which means that the fuel window opened about 3-4 laps ago to make it the rest of the way. Carson Gum's deciding to take the opportunity and pit now. We'll see if anybody else elected to come to pit road this time with Carson Gum. That turns the race lead back over to Dylan Young, who, based off of calculations, could go upwards of maybe another 14, 15 laps before he eventually would have to come to pit lane. Cody Lamas is coming in this time. Cole Deaver, Jose Mills, Reese Banks, all from inside of the top 15. Actually, from inside of the top 10. Just saw Noah Hendrickson. I think that was Caleb Fogler. Was also in. Dylan Poteet. Looks like he was in the same lap as Carson Gum. So was James Qualls. So you had a couple of the Fortnite Squad racing cars that came to pit lane together, as well as the Joanna Atwood Motorsports Chevrolet of Qualls. Batson, I think, is coming in this time, along with Ryan Brommer. Dylan Young continues to stay out. So Dylan Young's thought process is stay out as long as he possibly can and then have the freshest tires in the final sprint to the checkers. We'll see if it works out. Gunther came in this lap, Ormond, and the lap car of Ryan Butcher. But again, you gotta be careful on this very tight pit road. Only 2 lanes available. Rick Johnson, Daniel Boyles, Charles Sanford, Levi McIntyre on pit road this time. See, Carson Gum is right on the back bumper of Dylan Young. He is only 1 lap down, and he could unlap himself. Let's see the difference of fresh tires to old tires here. Look at this. Watch how Carson's going to blow his doors off. Right there, look at that run on the front straightaway. That is the difference of grip versus no grip. That is the advantage of fresh tires, and that's what Dylan Young is going to have to be aware of here, that he is basically giving up the race lead back to Carson Gum. The question is, how much time is he giving up when everything cycles around? Let's see if he throws in the anchor and comes to pit road this time. And he is not. Looks like Dylan... Oh, caution! We've got a yellow flag. The caution is out. And Carson just unlapped himself. Caution flag waves for the first time here tonight. And that is why Dylan Young stayed out. Because look at the host of drivers from 17th on down. He's got trapped a lap down. Actually, 12th place on down after the update there. Now, those drivers will maybe try and take a wave around depending on if they're going to be behind Dylan Young or behind the pace car. But we may only have 11 drivers left to settle this thing out now. The strategy call for Dylan Young. How about that? I think Carson Gum's going to be the leader, though, because he's still on the lead lap, and he had already been to pit lane. LaPlante, Haas, Chung, Ryder, Norman, Fogler, Osborne, Matthews, and Fogelman were the other drivers that had not yet pitted. And they're coming to pit lane now. What happened? What brought out the caution? Let's go find out. Wondering if it was someone coming off of pit lane. I didn't see any smoke or skid marks, so we're going to rely on the timing of when the caution lights came on to try and give us an indicator of where this may have occurred. And it looks like it was with the 24 of Reggie Fogelman, who I believe might have been trying to get to pit road. Ali Liera had already made a pit stop, so she wasn't going to give up the bottom. And yeah, the 24, very late choice to hit pit lane, comes across the nose of the 16 and gets spun in front of oncoming traffic. So race officials, no choice but to throw the caution. And it looks like we may have a couple of drivers out of the race, and I'm going to try and figure out why. Oh, gosh! Now, the car they showed out of the race was Jesse Turner, and we're about to show you why. Turner was back behind the whole incident that was going on with Reggie Fogelman and Ali Liera, and watch this. I think what happened was pit road was closed. Crew chief saying, don't pit, don't pit, don't pit, says it too late, and watch when Turner tries to turn back up the track. Turner clobbers the start of the pit wall right into those yellow sand barrels. Wow. That was a tough break there for Jesse Turner, who had nothing to do with the incident, but with pit road being closed, cannot come down a closed pit road, or else you end up getting a penalty. I believe it's either a stop and go or a 30-second penalty. And Turner, because of that, is going to be, at this point in time, the only driver out of this race. Now, there was a little contact there, the rear end of the 24 of Fogelman into the 27 of Osborne. We'll have to follow up on that, see if there's going to be any damage for the 27 car. Carson Gum actually elected to come to pit road, it appears, under this yellow. Decided not to cycle out to the race lead, so Dylan Young is the race leader, and this is where things get a little bit messy. Because all the drivers ahead of him are right now on the tail end of the lead lap. The only problem is they were trapped behind the pace car, so they will be restarting ahead of Dylan Young. We are also at 62 out of 80, which means that we're not at 10 to go. And so Charles Sanford on back, Dollerton, Dunnard, Bolin, Fitzwater, they're going to go up the inside line. They'll get back on the tail end of the lead lap because they'll be passing race leader Dylan Young. So you're going to have battles up ahead of Dylan Young for position, up as high as 11th place. So the drivers right now that are back here that are in the hunt for this victory are going to be Dylan Young, Austin LaPlante, Matt Haas, Laura Chung, Samuel Ryder, Michael Norman, Caleb Vogler, Kyle Matthews, Joshua Osborne, and Carson Gum. If we don't get a caution flag here in these final 18 or so laps, those are the only drivers, those 10, that are going to battle it out for the win here tonight. Everybody else will be battling for 11th place highest. Turner, as mentioned, out of the race. Ryan Butcher is 2 laps down, so when he follows the lap down machines around Dylan Young, he should be -1. And the drivers that I named that are in the hunt right now to battle for this win, 3 of them playoff contenders: Laura Chung, Michael Norman, and Kyle Matthews. A win for any one of those 3 is an automatic, locked-in advancement into the round of 12. As you see, the lap down cars making their way by, so they're now going to be on the tail end of the lead lap when we go back green, with the exception of the 78. This is going to be the most traffic that Dylan Young has dealt with all day. He's led 35 laps out in clean air, has had some challenges from Carson Gum, who's led 25 laps himself. But now, look at the wad of cars that Dylan Young is going to have to deal with. So you're going to have to keep track when we bring up our scoring pile on here in a few moments of who is currently of the top 10 in the hunt for this win, as opposed to these drivers that are on the tail end of the lead lap just ahead of them. There you see them. You see the 2? Look back to the 19. Those are the drivers right now that have a shot of winning this race, barring a caution coming out and putting a lot more drivers back on the lead lap. That caution certainly throwing a monkey wrench into this race. The racing's been great here tonight. It's been somewhat difficult to pass. We've seen some drivers be able to do it. We ran the first 55 some odd laps completely under the green flag. But now it's late race restarts here at Gateway. And Dylan Young trying to pick up his first win on the season here. Albeit not a playoff contender, but he's still a racer. Every racer wants that checkered flag as soon as they put on the helmet and the Hans device. Here we go. Green flag back in the air. Gonna be 16, make that 17 laps to go here at Gateway. That's a teammate up ahead of Dylan Young and RJ Bishop, but it's also a playoff driver in RJ Bishop, who's got a battle with Ali Liera. So you've got the battles within the battles going on right now. Keep an eye on the 48 of Austin LaPlante, second place driver. Matt Haas in third. Laura Chung in fourth. Dylan Young's going to go on the top side there of RJ Bishop, try and make his way around. LaPlante's going to follow him. Matt Haas is going to go to the bottom. 78 of Ryan Butcher, I believe we established, is off the pace. And he's holding up the inside line. That's why the 2 jumped up to the top. But now Butcher's going to get put up to the top. 3 wide, they're going to split him. Dylan Young way up into that third groove. And watch the 8 of Matt Haas on the inside line, behind RJ Bishop in the 98. Can he take the race lead away from Dylan Young? Young is clear of the 78 car. And now Dylan Young, high, wide, and handsome, trying to get around Jessica Shelton. Try and put her a lap down. There's the 83 of Will Howard, playoff contender, on the inside line as well. These playoff drivers, they're going to fight hard to stay on the tail end of the lead lap. Shelton trying to get back ahead of the 2 car. She's going to succeed. So she's back on the tail lead lap right now. Dylan Young battling back. Matt Haas has moved into the 2nd spot. He's ahead of Austin LaPlante. Dylan Young's going to try and tuck in between of Shelton. Well, I thought he was going to. Sends it up wide there going into turn 3. I thought he was going to tuck in behind Shelton in front of Will Howard, but now he's got a good gap back to the 8 car. Who's got to make his way around Will Howard and RJ Bishop before he can get up there to Dylan Young. There's Kyle Matthews, side by side. That's for 4th. Now for 3rd as he gets a run to the inside of former teammate Caleb Fogler. It's going to be a good points day for Kyle Matthews, the defending champ. As Dylan Young's gotten in front of his teammate RJ Bishop to the inside of Jessica Shelton. Things very wadded up ahead of him there. Inside line checking up, outside line checking up, but he's enjoying a pretty good gap. Back to the 8 car of Matt Haas, who's under fire from Kyle Matthews and Caleb Fogler. 3-way battle for 2nd. Add LaPlante into there, 4-way battle. Boy, Dylan Young's car is so good on that inside line. He's gotten around Rick Johnson. He's gotten around Nathan Ormond. Looks like that car might be a little bit better in traffic than it even was out in clean air, as he follows behind the Oreo Ford Mustang of Daniel Voiles. As of that last time by, he's got everybody up to 35th put a lap down, does Dylan Young. Ormond being the last of those. Fogler's moved to 2nd. Just noticed that. The 28 got around the 8. And now he's got only 1 car between himself and Dylan Young, that being Young's teammate, RJ Bishop. Ooh, Dylan trying to figure out which lane he wants. He was on the bottom, moved to the top, now stuck in the middle. Here comes the 28 car. Door is open. Three wide ahead of the race leader. Nick Gunther's in that. Gunther all the way back right now in the 31st position. That cycle of pit stops, the caution coming out, did not work out in the 4-time winner's favor. And there's the battle for the lead. Fogler edges out ahead of Dylan Young. Caleb Fogler is still looking for his first career win. Granted, he is one half of the defending champions, but he didn't win that Homestead race. He finished the highest of the 4 championship competitors that night, but he is still looking for his first checkered flag. And this time by, looks like he is going to lead the lap. 3 wide ahead of him. Reese Banks, Levi McIntyre, RJ Bishop. You think these drivers up here aren't battling for something? They know every point. Every position is important if you're a playoff contender. Look at Reese Banks getting used up there. Nick Gunther going to push him up to the 3rd lane, right in front of Dylan Young. And now Matt Haas and Kyle Matthews are going to get around the 2 car. Move them to 2nd and 3rd. Now Matt Haas trying to hunt down Caleb Fogler. Matt Haas still looking for his first win of the season, despite the fact that he was very much in the second half of this regular season in the conversation for regular season champion. It's like Matthews jumped up to the top there. Samuel Ryder in the 63, he's right now inside of the top 5. Looking for his first career win. The only drivers right now up in this lead group that have formally won are Matthews, Chung, Norman. Everybody else is still looking for their first win on the season as Haas going to drive it deep. Had to check up a little, got his left sides on the rumble strip, but he is to the inside of Matt Haas, or make that of Caleb Fogler for the top spot. Less than 10 to go here at Gateway. Who can maneuver through traffic the best? That's who's going to win this race. Top 4 all nose to tail on that inside line. Fogler, Haas, Ryder, Matthews. It's Daniel Voiles and Levi McIntyre they're trying to get around. Ryder looked to the middle that time going into turn 3. Matthews jumps to the top. Third place battle between Matthews and Ryder. As Matthews gets a nice exit there out of turn 4. Let's see if he and Levi McIntyre, the lap car, can do anything on the high side. Fogler still pinned to the bottom. On the inside of Daniel Voiles, 65 Rob Evans just up ahead of him. Boxed in right now is the 28. 8 is clear for the moment. Gets whatever choice of line he wants into the entrance of turn 3. Looks like he's going to stay high. Gets to the right rear quarter panel of Caleb Fogler. 3 wide. Fogler, very low, got the apron, tries to get back to the throttle. Boxed in by RJ Bishop, has to hit the brakes. Now a little bit of space there as he'll have only Rob Evans to contend with. But out the rearview mirror, Matt Haas right there on the back bumper. Matthews moved to 3rd, Ryder back to 4th. Right now Laura Chung just kind of hanging out in that 5th position. She's trying to get around Dylan Young for that final spot inside the top 5. Young battling back in the 2. Our 2 dominant cars of the day is, ooh, there might have been some contact right there between Chung and Young. Well, that's an interesting rhyme. Matt Haas, top side on Caleb Fogler. As we are at 5 laps to go here at Gateway. Look at the run Daniel Voiles gets there on the inside line. Fogler having to deal with Rob Evans. Top 3, single filed out. Ryder on the top side of Daniel Voiles. Fogler wants by. Does he use the bumper on Rob Evans? It was close. Matthews now to the inside of Matt Haas for 2nd place. And he's going to box the 8 car in behind the 65. Matthews, I think, is going to move into the runner-up spot here through 1 and 2. And it's going to be the former teammates that might duke it out here in the final stages for this victory. For Caleb Fogler, he's looking for the first win of his career. For Kyle Matthews, he's looking for an automatic ticket into the round of 12. Matthews is indeed clear. Matt Haas has to deal with Rob Evans. Fogler's got him stacked up double wide ahead of him. Miles in the 25, Bishop in the 98. Matthews closing in. 3 laps to go here at Gateway Motorsports Park. What a crazy race this has been to open up the playoffs in the Duracell Cup Series. Fogler tries the top on Benjamin Miles. Matthews stays to the bottom. Gets a nice run out of turn number 2. I thought that was turn number 4, but that's turn 2. He'll go to the outside of Benjamin Miles. Fogler on the outside of RJ Bishop. Fogler, I think, wanted to get back down, but Benjamin Miles got a deep run into turn 3. Now Fogler's going to be boxed in. He's got Poteen in front of him. RJ, kitty corner. Miles to the inside. Here comes Matt Haas back into the picture. The 8 car's not done with 2 to go. Really stacked up on that inside line now. Kyle Matthews may have picked the wrong line. Fogler, can he get back to the throttle? Matthews pulls up in front of Matt Haas. Here comes Ryder to the inside of Matt Haas for 3rd. Caleb Fogler now behind the 16 of Ali Liera. Ryder looking for 2nd on Matthews. This time by, the white flag will be displayed, and I don't see anybody within striking distance. Caleb Fogler's got 2, now 3 lap cars back between him and the battle for 2nd as the white flag's displayed. Caleb Fogler maneuvered the traffic perfectly. He gets by Poteet as well. Caleb Fogler looking to be the 2nd rookie winner for Blue Oval Automotive this season. Will Howard did it back early on at Las Vegas. Fogler looking to join the long list of Zachary Fitzwater, Destin Bolin, Will Howard, Rick Johnson, Jack Dunnard, Quentin Moore, Laura Chung, rookie winners this season. Caleb Fogler is going to add his name to that list as there's no one to challenge him out back. Off turn 4 for the final time. First career win for the defending champion. Caleb Fogler takes place tonight at Gateway. Matthews hangs on for 2nd, Ryder in 3rd, Haas in 4th. And the car that led the most laps today, Dylan Young, is going to bring it home. Final spot inside of the top 5. Caleb Vogler finally gets it done here this season. Took him 27 races here in Season 6, which would be a combined 39 races to get his first career win in the Duracell Cup Series, but he finally gets it done. Another rookie goes to victory lane, and nobody at this point in time locks themselves into the next round of the playoffs with a non-playoff driver winning here today. Let's take a look at our finishing results. With a long green flag run at the beginning, a caution coming out right in the middle of green flag pit stops. Only 10 drivers finished within even 6 seconds of the race leader. But great points days for Matthews, Norman, and Chung, because their top 10s are going to help them either stay ahead or move ahead of that 12th in the standings cut line. Samuel Ryder, great run there, another rookie that needed a good performance, and he's going to bring it home. Final spot in the podium. Matt Haas, 4th place for him. Very much in the conversation in the closing stages. Really the only other driver outside of Caleb Vogler, Dylan Young, and Carson Gum that led any laps here today. Dylan Young ended up finishing in 5th, as we mentioned. LaPlante, good run for LaPlante. I don't think we talked really much about LaPlante, but I think he was in the top 10 all race long. He brings it home for 6th. Michael Norman there in 7th after he spent a good portion of the race even outside of the top 15, so a solid outing for that playoff driver. Laura Chung, another playoff driver, great run for her there in 8th after she came into this race, the 16th seed. Carson Gum, a little surprised that he came to pit road there when that caution came out. I would have thought he would have stayed out, cycled his way back around to the top spot when Dylan Young and company came to pit road, but he's still going to get a good run in 9th. Led the second most laps here today, 25 of them. And then Joshua Osborne, you kind of go back to what might have been if he had made it into the top 30 in points last week at Auto Club, had clinched a playoff spot. He would have had a top 10 to start out the playoffs as he finished in that 10th position. We mentioned that all those other drivers, they were going to be basically battling from 11th on up. James Qualls gets that 11th spot. The consistency out of this 70 team is amazing this year. It's a shame he's not in the playoffs. He gets 11th. Cody Lamas, good run there in 12th. Charles Sanford, that's a comeback run for Charles, as he spent most of the race outside of the top 35 even. And he's going to bring it home in 13th. Chris Dalton, 14th. Jose Mills in 15th. Another playoff driver, Jack Dunnard there in 16th. Ryan Brommer, Cole Deaver, Reggie Fogelman, and playoff contender Dustin Bolin back in 20th. Keith Batson was the biggest loser, I think, in this race with the timing of that yellow, because he was up in the top 4 pretty much the entirety of the race until the caution came out. And he's going to finish in 21st. Mitchell Collins back in 22nd. The rest of your playoff drivers, you got Quentin Moore in 25th. Zachary Fitzwater in 26th. Al Iliera was the last driver to finish on the lead lap. She was 27th. RJ Bishop a lap down in 29th. Rick Johnson a lap down in 31st. Nick Gunther, 4-time winner. Good thing he had that cushion coming into this race with the reformatted playoff points, as he was 35th, 1 lap down. Will Hoer, 38th. And Ryan Butcher, 2 laps down in 41st position. So there's going to be some drivers that'll be leaving Gateway with smiles on their faces. Some drivers are going to have that little gray cloud of dread heading into next week in not knowing what exactly to expect at another debuting track. Tough break there for Jesse Turner. He ended up hitting the pit wall there just after the only caution of the evening flew, and he was the only driver to DNF in this one here tonight. But Caleb Vogler gets it done here this evening at Gateway for his first career win. Congratulations to him. Thank you all for tuning in to tonight's first playoff race of Season 6 of the Duracell Cup Series. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, part of the crew today. We showed you full feature results, and these are the point standings, as well as the updated playoff points heading into next week. Keep a close eye on that 12th position in the standings, because that is going to be what we'll be talking about a lot in these next 2 races. This is the debut round, I guess you could call it, because here tonight Gateway made its first appearance on the schedule. Next week we go road course racing at Chatham. It's making its debut on the schedule, and then the following week this track ended up showing a lot of promise in preseason Thunder testing. Nashville Superspeedway, that is where our first elimination race is going to be taking place. So hope you will tune in to the upcoming races in preparation to finding out who's moving on to the round of 12. We don't know yet. Nobody won their way in. Caleb Vogler played spoiler as a non-playoff contender here tonight. But until then, I've been Seth Cole. You've been watching another broadcast courtesy of NNSCRA TV, Offline Racing as Best. See you guys next week at Chatham.